Today on this episode, we're going to talk to Alan and Nancy Kuehner, world-renowned travelers turned overlanders. Welcome back to another week of Coddiwomple Overland. Thanks again for coming and checking us out, hanging out with us for a little bit. This week, Deb and I are talking to Alan and Nancy Kuehner. They've been with us on several of the trips that we've made, great friends of ours, and they have a super interesting story, and that's what we want to share with you this week. How y'all doing today?
We're doing great, especially out here in moonshine country.
Moonshine country of Eastern Kentucky.
Still quarantining ourselves.
Yes. Trying to maintain that social distance and trying to wait for this thing to get over so we can get back out and do some things we're enjoying.
If we can't be on the trails, at least we can sit here in the woods.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. We're just outside of Nancy and Alan's house. They've got several acres right on Grayson Lake, and we're able to come out here and enjoy nature a little bit. While we're not able to get out and explore, we can still enjoy nature.
Yeah.
You guys are not native to Eastern Kentucky.
This is true, and probably if you've heard me talk for a minute or two, you can understand that. We both grew up in northwestern Pennsylvania, Alan in a town, myself out in the country, Skunk Hollow, or really Troy Center, Pennsylvania, and Alan was from
Meadville, Pennsylvania, where the only reason you might have heard of it is channel lock pliers.
Channel lock pliers. Anybody that's ever worked on a Jeep at some point has used a pair of channel lock pliers.
Right.
But you have literally been all over the world.
True.
Why did you pick this area to retire?
We had some, I'm a scientist, an engineer. I like to do things in a studied way. So what we did was make up a list of things we wanted in the place we retired. We wanted to retire early. We could not, at that point was working on Long Island, New York, and we could not afford to retire there. I wanted to retire early, so we started shopping for places that would be inexpensive, that were not all, were like where we grew up. We're not so far from our kids that we couldn't get to them in a day if we wanted to. So we started shopping through the hills of Tennessee and North Carolina and West Virginia. And when we got here to Kentucky, Nancy was, actually I was at a meeting for my business. Nancy was camping. She'd done a little bit of exploring and was camping. And she said, this is a pretty nice place. The people here are very friendly. We had when we wanted to call a real estate agent, this is before cell phones, wanted to call a real estate agent, went into a shop and said, can we, where's the nearest payphone? I said, oh, just use the phone by the register. And they weren't even in the same room with us.
Yes.
So we knew that it was a friendly and trusting place.
Yes.
And that was important to us, and we ended up subscribing to the local papers, 2 of them. Within a couple of months, we found a place that looked interesting. We came down and bought it on a handshake.
You made it to Eastern Kentucky. You retired. I know you did some traveling before you retired, but since you've retired, you've done a tremendous amount of traveling, literally all over the world.
Before we retired, it was mostly in the United States. We had been to Europe once, and then after we retired, some friends said, well, we're going on this cruise. Why don't you come with us?
We said we're old retired folks. We ought to go on at least one cruise.
And I didn't think I would like cruising. Unfortunately, I do. But that really started our travels, and then we started doing more adventuresome stuff. The best trip that we did was the 61 days camping in Africa.
Oh, wow.
That was, we were going to go there next. This is not your first time overlanding. You actually did a true overlanding trip in Africa, right?
Yeah. It was in a huge
truck,
Mercedes truck that would hold 20 people. And when we were traveling in different sections of the trip, we had from 8 to 20 people in the truck with us. We carried all of our camping gear, all of our cooking gear, our food, and all of that stuff. And it was a very good trip.
A week at a time, you'd be assigned to get the tents out. You'd be assigned to get the air mattresses off the, or not air mattress, the mattresses off the roof. Somebody else would be assigned to do the cooking or go shopping with the in the local stores.
Which was an experience. In one town, we rode motorcycles to the local market because the truck couldn't park near the market. And we came back from the market carrying these huge things on our laps on motorcycles behind the person driving the motorcycle who had huge things on his lap.
So you did 60 days?
61 days.
61 days. So y'all were all in this 20-person truck.
Correct.
Lots of nature, I'm sure.
Yes.
Lots of wild animals.
Yes.
That
I
kind
was-
of stuff.
I was close enough to a lion to have touched it.
Wow.
We were in, at that point, what amounted to a pickup truck with bench seats across the bed.
Uh-huh.
And 2 young male lions came down and walked around it. The guide, sitting in the cab, and perfectly safe, just sat there, and I could literally have reached down and patted the lion on the head.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And we watched lions take down a zebra 60 feet from us, which was pretty impressive.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be.
And when you think about it, a little bit scary.
Had a hippopotamus go between our tent and the next one at night.
Oh, wow.
Which is probably the most dangerous thing in Africa
Yeah.
is the hippopotamus.
Yeah.
We were in a little Makoro canoe, which is a dugout wooden canoe, and we had a guide poling the canoe with this really long pole, and we were getting very close to some hippopotamus in the water. And all of a sudden, some of the hippopotamus dove down in the water, and all you could see is their bubbles coming toward you. And our guide started going backwards very rapidly
Wow.
because the hippopotamus could have just, chomped our boat in half.
Yes.
We didn't want
absolutely.
The driver managed to put let's see, the truck's name was Claudia. Put Claudia between a batch of female elephants and one male, and he wasn't happy about that.
Yeah, I'm sure he
That
was.
was
He charged the truck.
So did all of this take place before or after you started all of your photos and your documentation on your website?
it was in the middle of it.
In the middle of it?
So
Yeah.
it's on our
So
website.
it is on the website.
Yeah.
Chance to plug your website now.
Okay. It's science-fun.org.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It really
So
is.
truly renowned travelers. They've been everywhere. Let's move forward to last summer. Somehow you all ended up with a Jeep.
Yes, we were going to buy a new vehicle because the one we used every day had 220,000 miles on it. And at the local dealer here, they had a whole bunch of Jeeps. And this really nice red Jeep was the first in line, and every time we would go by there, that Jeep just called to me. And so we went in to look at Jeeps. And
We were
we're
just
n-
shopping at this point.
we are not people who just go in and buy something. We do lots of research and everything. And we went in, and we ended up walking out and saying to each other, "Did we just buy that Jeep?" And we had indeed just bought a Jeep.
Yes, the color is important. They are also volunteer firefighters, and they belong to the Rough Terrain Rescue Technical Rescue Team. So Nancy is actually the chief of the fire department,
And I was one of the 5 people that
the founding members.
established the fire
The
department.
party.
So last summer you bought the Jeep. We had a Jeep at that point. Was telling you about us four-wheeling a little bit. I think that piqued your all's interest.
Certainly it did.
So we talk you into going on your first Jeep off-road adventure where you're driving,
Right.
which was the Southern Four-Wheel Drive Association's fall meet in the Red River Gorge.
Yeah.
So at that time, the Jeep was completely stopped.
Correct?
Hadn't had anything at all done to it. So I'm going to stop right there
Yeah, because we missed a piece.
that fast forwards to
No, we had a trip plan before we went on that. We had a trip plan to go to the Jeep invasion, and they rolled their Jeep over, and they couldn't go with us.
yes, your first Jeep
Yeah.
ended
Yes.
up looking like a turtle.
Yeah,
Yes.
they
All right.
turtled
Okay,
the
you
Jeep.
want to lead into that?
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll
so
go back
we'll
to that.
we'll go come back to this.
Yeah, we'll come back to the Southern Four-Wheel Drive Association ride.
We can patch
The
it.
first vacation trip that we were planning on taking was to the Smoky Mountain Jeep invasion. As you guys know, that happens in August. Right around the end of July, them being firefighters got called to a house fire, and I will let you guys tell the story from there.
I was driving. We had lights and siren on the Jeep. We were first on scene, and I'm pulling off the road, and this fire is on the hill, just 150 feet maybe off the other side up the hill. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at a nice level spot to pull off the road. What I didn't know was that nice level spot had been mowed flat, and there was about a 5.5 or 6 foot deep hole in it. I pulled off 2 wheels on the pavement, 2 wheels over the empty, and it rolled over like we were in molasses. I want to tell you that we had to test all the features of the Jeep. The roll cage is excellent.
It does work.
It does.
The traction in that mode, the inverted mode, is lousy.
Exactly.
So we got out of the Jeep. It's very disconcerting to be upside down trying to figure out which side you need to get out. And went to the back of the Jeep, opened it up, figuring it out upside down, how to open it up, dragged the fire gear out.
I geared up, and the first fire truck arrived, dragged hose off of that, and started putting water on the fire.
That happened in July.
Right.
Y'all had purchased the Jeep in June.
I think
Yeah.
it was in June, yes. We had just under 1,000 miles on the Jeep at this point.
So you'll be able to see from the pictures, the underside of the Jeep is still shiny. From there, it took them several weeks to get their Jeep back. They ended up not being able to take the Jeep to the Smoky Mountain Jeep invasion. However, they went anyway.
Yes.
Alan made up this really neat sign to post on the windows of their Honda.
That attracted a lot of attention at the Jeep Fest.
Yes, I think that picture of the Jeep upside down and your story behind it attracted more attention than the Jeep would have at the invasion.
Yes, definitely. But at any rate, we had a great time at the Jeep invasion.
But now this is actually a different Jeep
This
than
is
the
a
one that
different
rolled over.
Yes. It's a 2018, and it has had some modifications, thanks to our friend Bill, who did quite a bit of it. And we have had great experiences going out overlanding with you guys.
Yeah, so our first trip was actually
The Southern Four-Wheel Drive Association,
right.
where we went done a day trip, and I think we pretty much hooked them at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
So after that, in January, we decided to take a multi-day overlanding trip on the Kentucky Adventure Tour. We started in Jellicoe, Tennessee, and worked our way up the western side. We were gone for 4 days, 3 nights. Again, the Jeep was still completely stock form, and it really impressed me. And what impressed me more than that was
The grin
Alan
on
and
my
Nancy.
face.
Alan and Nancy getting right in there and doing it. And what made me happier than anything on the whole trip was seeing Alan's sense of accomplishment. I know he's done a million things throughout his life, and to see him have that much joy on his face by being able to do something was just absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Part of what we did on that, however, convinced Nancy that we needed a couple of modifications.
Yeah.
Bill took us through a river that came that close to coming in my air intake.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, we got a little close. Got a little close on the air intake, hence the reason for the snorkel.
Yes.
And then by the time we got done with that one, the bottom of this Jeep wasn't shiny anymore.
No, it
No.
was not.
So it had some scrapes along the bottom. Actually, you were telling me that you went and had the oil changed after that
Yes.
trip and was able to look underneath it and just see how many scrapes there was on it.
And I was very surprised that there weren't more scrapes than there were. And
Yeah.
they were not very deep. So
Yeah.
we could do a lot more than we'd already done.
Yes, yeah. But it was time to raise it up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Oh, yeah, to get creative and so we'd have a cool Jeep.
It's all about the cool factor.
You know, it's not every old grandmother that has a cool Jeep.
That's right.
Who's
That's
also
right.
a fire chief.
There you go.
Bill commented that we were over 70. I'm 77, she's 72. We're proud of that.
Absolutely.
A lot of it is, we've been very fortunate, a lot of it is attitude. Just being ready to take on whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and they will take on anything. Won't hesitate at all.
I mean,
Anything from firefighting to getting out in the Jeeps to literally going over a rock cliff on a rope.
Or from the bridge.
Or off the
bridge.
bridge. They will literally try to tackle anything, and there's very few things that I've ever seen them not be able to accomplish. Matter of fact, I can't think of anything that you all haven't set your mind to that you haven't done.
We talked you into turning around on one river crossing
Yes,
because
Yeah,
we
yeah.
weren't comfortable.
that is true. That is true, and I think had we taken that route across that river,
It wouldn't have been that far.
and we
Right.
had taken the same route that Kelly did, yeah, it wouldn't have been that far. We'd have had water over your hood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there probably would have been water over our hood, which we're not a whole lot higher now than you guys are. So they wanted to do a lift on their Jeep. And one of the previous videos you've seen us put the AEV lift on. It raised it up a little bit. They had already put on a little bit larger tires. How you guys liking the lift so far?
It's good. And amazingly enough, I can still get into it,
Yeah.
into the
that's
Jeep.
great.
So, you know, every day I'm thankful that I get to stretch when I get in my Jeep so I can keep stretching.
There you go.
Yeah.
The other thing we have done with Bill and Deb is also do a moonlight glow paddle on Grayson Lake with our
Yes.
kayaks.
Yes, we've
Yep.
done that
And,
also.
You know, so there's lots of things out there in the world to do. You just need to think about having the fun and going and doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
And you won't get old.
That's right.
That's that was going to lead me to my next question: is what is your key to youth, and how do you stay as young and energetic as you guys do?
There just isn't, I never think about not being able to do anything. I just do it. Some things I have to do a little differently than I used to do 30 years ago. I still do it.
It's hard to think of ourselves as being old, and that's part of it.
Yeah.
You don't think of yourself. We know people that are 30 years younger than us who are old
Yes.
in their own
Right.
mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Alright, So
Um,
so being old is literally a sense
state of mind.
a state of mind.
mind. Yes, it definitely is. And if you want to do something, go out and try it. If you don't manage to do the whole thing, it doesn't matter. You've at least tried, and you should be happy with that.
Yeah, you've at least given that effort.
Given the go, you know. So
So this weekend, we were not supposed to be here on your property enjoying nature.
Right.
We were supposed to be in Tennessee the week prior to being at the Smoky Mountain Overland Rally, which is where we were supposed to be this weekend. We were going to do part of the Pisgah National Forest and the Smoky Mountain off-road overland route. So as soon as we get this over with this COVID-19,
right,
where are we going?
wherever you want.
But we're going overland,
Yeah.
and I can
Yeah.
guarantee
Yeah.
you that.
We'll be going overlanding.
We're
And
going
it probably
somewhere.
won't be 22 degrees and ice on our water when we get up in the
Right.
morning,
Yes,
Right.
like
yes.
it was in January.
It'll be quite a bit warmer.
Or how cold was it the last time you guys went out?
14.
14.
Yeah, we
That-
woke up to 14.
You know, while you're sleeping and in your tent, it's fine. When you have to get up to go to the bathroom, it's not so fine.
That's right. Yeah.
But we did it, and we had a good time.
We did.
Again, it's a state of mind. Go out and enjoy the world. There's a lot of world out there to enjoy.
Thank you guys. This has been great. I've even learned some things that I didn't know, and we've known each other for years. So it doesn't matter how old you are. Just like they said, age is a state of mind. Get out and enjoy yourself.
Yes.
Thank you guys again for sitting down and doing
You're
this with us.
Thanks for getting us into Jeeping.
Well, our pleasure for sure.
We are glad that you got into Jeeping. We've had an amazing time with you guys.
Yeah. And we've learned a lot from you. So it's good. It works out both ways.
Absolutely. Thank you guys again for watching Coddiwomple Overland. Again, if you like what we're doing, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification button, and you'll know when we're doing something next. See you.